Uranus can stimulate that full moon in Capricorn, making us inspired to reach our goal. Where do you want to be in 10 or 20 or 30 years, right? Not just 3 years. Who do you want to be at the end of your life? Welcome to this video on the full moon in Capricorn happening July 13th, 2022. I'm Cassandra of SaffronSage Astrology, and stay tuned with me while we break down the collective energies. Then we'll go over the energy by rising sign, so you don't want to miss it. Let's get into the video. So this full moon in Capricorn is happening July 13th, 2022, and it's happening at 21 degrees of Capricorn. So as we all might know, a full moon means it is the end, it is the culmination of a 6-month cycle that began at the last new moon. So you can think back to what was happening in your life back when that new moon was going on. And that would have been, I'm actually going to look this up for everyone here. So the new moon in Capricorn happened on January 2nd, 2022. So you can think back to what cycle was beginning in your life at that time. And at this time, this will be a culmination of those energies. You can also take a look at what house in your chart Capricorn falls under to understand more about what area of life this culmination is going to be showing up in. So for the full moon in Capricorn, the major aspects we have an opposition to Mercury, a trine to Uranus. It will conjunct Pluto, trine the North Node, and square Chiron. And for the minor aspects, we have a sextile to Neptune, a wide sextile to Neptune, a triseptile to Venus, and a biseptile to Mars. So we have a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. The first thing we want to talk about is this opposition to Mercury, where, this is within a few degrees. The sun will be conjunct Mercury in Cancer, while the full moon is conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. So immediately we have this dynamic playing out between Pluto and Mercury. Mercury being all about communication, Mercury in Cancer being about communicating in a way where, and planning in a way where we make sure that it doesn't get in the way of the things we love. That is the thing about Cancer, is Cancer will be very, very committed to what it loves. And so for a lot of people, this shows up as family, but this can be someone's career. If they're a Cancer and they don't have a family, it's like their career is their baby. So for Cancers, it's prioritizing what matters most and not being willing to do anything that would jeopardize that. So security is very important with these energies. And this full moon in Capricorn energy being willing to do whatever it takes to get to the top. Capricorn, in the most extreme case, would be a high-powered CEO or executive who cannot keep a relationship because they're willing to sacrifice it all. Now, of course, we want to have balance in all things, and you can have a little bit of Capricorn or a little bit of Cancer, but to me, this axis, whenever this axis is affected, we're going to see decisions or situations that really bring up the idea, do we want comfort or do we want results? Okay, so this can be from the smallest thing to, do I want to eat the cookie or do I want to lose the weight? And having to make the decision, these micro decisions in our lives of, do I want to spend my time watching that movie I really, really want to watch? Or do I want to put 3 hours into this project I've been working on that is really important to me? And there's not really a right answer, because the right answer depends on who you are and what you value the most. And so, with this is why I love astrology, guys, because for one person, that right answer is going to be different than the other person. But having this opposition, oftentimes, we're going to feel torn between the responsible thing versus the comfortable thing, or the thing that would make us successful, or the thing that our family wants, or, someone else in our lives, one of our relationships needs from us. So we might feel at this time like situations like this are being highlighted in our lives. Of, do I make this person happy? Do I take care of their emotions? Do I say what they need to hear? Do I make them feel comfortable and validate their emotions and tell them they're going to be okay? Do we do that to ourselves at this time? Or do we take the tough love approach and say, no, I believe in a higher cause. I believe in a higher purpose, and that higher purpose requires me to not give in to my emotions. And, the challenge with Capricorn, okay, in general, the challenge with Capricorn is that Capricorn believes in virtue and responsibility. And one of the struggles with people with strong Capricorn placements is they don't always know when not to impress their kind of tough love sort of viewpoint of the world onto other people. Now, this does not apply to all Capricorns, but this is one of the imbalances we can see with Cancer and Capricorn energy is the person who wants to go hard and be tough might have some placements in their chart that allow them to do so. And then they go try to impress that on other people and kind of assuming other people want to step up to the level they've stepped up to. So that is one of the challenges where Capricorn can be offensive inadvertently by just assuming that the person wants their advice and their expertise and their well, if you want to do what it takes, then listen to me, and if you're not willing to work 17 jobs, then don't complain to me, kind of a thing. So with this opposition, though, we have Pluto and Mercury involved here. So even though Mercury is about 10 degrees away from Pluto, it's conjunct that sun in this lunation, whereas Pluto is conjunct the moon. And so these are, I see this as an opposition here. Mercury in Cancer, again, be telling the person what they want or need to hear, validating emotions, making people feel comfortable, making people feel okay, like they're right where they're supposed to be. There's a time and a place for this energy. Whereas Pluto in Capricorn is more like, it's almost like you want someone to wake up. Pluto in Capricorn is going to tear the covers off of you. So you can't enjoy it if you don't do the hard work. And, I think of, just with Capricorn in general, I think of things like taking cold showers and cold plunges and things that are designed to make you uncomfortable. And, for people who do those things, they swear by it. Things like fasting, things where we embrace the discomfort, embrace the suck. So those energies can be highlighted here. And we can also see with Pluto and Mercury, oftentimes this is going to be secrets because the nature of Pluto, it tends to bury the planet that it's connected to, the planet that it's in aspect to. And what is buried thoughts or buried communication? Well, it's secrets. It's things we didn't know. So one of the things that I could see at this time is some form of disclosure. And that form of disclosure is going to show up differently for all of us, but we may see it as a revealing of something that we thought was okay and now it's not, where we thought someone was cool with us on a level, but they're not cool with us. We find out someone knows something we didn't know they knew. Someone reveals to us that, it can be something like they know a secret, but it can also be something like some people were not being honest with you and now that dishonesty is revealed. Or, something involving the themes of withholding the truth for the sake of comfort, social situations where no one wants to tell you that because it's kind of embarrassing. And then eventually you find out. And it doesn't always have to be in a negative way. Maybe someone nicely reveals to you something that is uncomfortable to hear. Perhaps sometimes some of us might be getting feedback on like what we need to improve. And it's like, oh, that's hard to hear. That's another theme that can come up, or just learning things we didn't know before. And this doesn't have to be shocking things. Although there is a trine to Uranus, which we will get into, but that trine makes that easier. So it can be a secret is revealed. Plans are revealed. And with Pluto, there's a psychological aspect as well. So for some of us, this is simply we're understanding more deeply our own hidden motives behind a reason for doing something. We're understanding other people's hidden motives for things. Maybe we understand ourselves and our goals on a deeper level, or, with the sign of Capricorn being highlighted here, what needs to change for us to reach our goals. Maybe we look back on ourselves 3 years ago and say, oh my gosh, now wonder why I wasn't making progress, right? Because you're at a level now where you have new information. You can see something about yourself that maybe has the potential to support you in reaching your goals if you let that information do so. So I think the theme here with Pluto and Mercury involved in this opposition during this full moon is that secrets can be revealed. We might learn something we didn't know before. And that can range. Remember, Pluto transforms through destruction. So, sometimes Mercury can be like someone was trying to lie about you, gossip, things like that. But with Pluto involved, to me, it feels like maybe a release of someone who is gossiping about you, or new knowledge of people gossiping about you or new knowledge of what people are really saying, what's really being said, what's really being communicated, or, what you are really thinking or feeling or planning. So let's move on from Pluto now to this trine to Uranus and the North Node. So the moon being at 21 degrees, Uranus being at 18, this is pretty close. And the North Node being at 20, this is quite a close trine by degree. So basically Uranus is the planet of change. But I want to ease your guys' mind about Uranus here because it is in a trine. So trine aspects promote ease. Well, what is ease between Uranus, the planet of change, and the moon, the planet of our emotions and our comfort and what we need to feel okay? Well, we might change how we feel about something. That is one potential here, where how we feel about something changes as a result of some kind of information, some kind of newness, something new that's revealed. That can be true on a global level, and it can be true on a personal level. Be sure to watch your rising sign for the breakdown of each sign, where we go over, why that is and what that means for each sign. So again, Uranus is also a stimulating aspect. So for some people, Uranus can stimulate that full moon in Capricorn, making us more inspired to reach our goals, inspired to let go of what we need to let go of to have the structure in place to get where we want to be. Capricorn is the sign of, where do you want to be in 10 or 20 or 30 years, right? Not just 3 years, but who do you want to be at the end of your life? And what changes are you willing to make at this time to be that person or to have those experiences or be at that level? Now, for some people, this can somehow be breaking down power structures because Pluto in the sign of Capricorn really is that cleansing of the corruption. Okay, cleansing of corruption is what I'm going to call that. And then Uranus, they're trining this moon here, can highlight something else in the world that is corrupt, that needs to be cleansed, things in ourselves where we are kind of breaking down the power struggles within ourselves. That can also be highlighted at this time. But I do want to stress that this trine from Uranus can be a positive change. It can be a positive, unexpected change. And having, Uranus be in Taurus, the moon in Capricorn, these are earth signs that deal with the physical world and foundations. Okay, so some positive change to our foundation, what we rely upon, what we depend upon. And for each person, this will show up in a different area of life. But Uranus functions like an on-off switch. And with the North Node being present, to me, this makes it feel more of a change that is like the tower moment where the tower falls, but you really needed it to fall so you could create a new tower. And I don't think we're all going to have crazy upheavals at this time, but I do think that for a lot of people, there will be pressure or opportunities or situations that perhaps create a forced surrender of something that maybe we've been clinging on to, but that by clinging onto that thing, it's keeping us from really going where we want to go. And so that Uranus in Taurus is usually not comfortable because it's changing the things that we rely on to feel comfortable and okay. And no one really likes it when they can't have the bread they like, or, they can't have the same physical thing that they've always had, the same food or the same coffee or the same, land, the same place of residence, whatever it is. Oftentimes we don't enjoy these changes. However, I do want to kind of stress that this being a trine should be less jarring. For a lot of times, Uranus transits will inspire freedom within us. So some people at this time will be desiring to get free of any sort of corporate structures that they feel like they are trapped by. They might feel inspired to just make their life change for the better, for a desire to have more comfort, more security, more enjoyment, do more things they love. That can also be coming up here too with this trine to Uranus in Taurus. So moving on now to the next major aspect, we're going to talk about this square to Chiron. So Chiron in Aries, I've been talking about this. I will keep talking about this. Chiron in Aries is all about us going after what we want with our own lives and letting go of how we stop ourselves through putting other people first, or through not being sure and being indecisive, or through, not believing it's possible for us for whatever reason. And then just kind of staying in that place of, well, can I do it? Instead of just deciding, I'm going to do it. I'll figure it out. And so the moon in Capricorn squaring Chiron in Aries, this is a cardinal square. So cardinal squares oftentimes will cause someone to have a tremendous amount of ability to initiate, but oftentimes they don't know what to start. So with Chiron in such a close square aspect to this lunation, we could find ourselves feeling that energy, feeling like, ooh, I really want to start this new project, and having to weigh out the difference between what we feel like is going to make us feel comfortable versus what goals we want to achieve. For some people, you may realize you're not on track to your goals, and you have to decide whether you're going to get on track and let go of something you've been clinging to, some kind of security blanket, or whether you are just going to decide that you'd rather have your blankie, And again, based on who you are, I don't know the answer, and I'm not here to push you guys. This is a general reading. Do not make major life decisions off of a general reading. But know that the theme of holding ourselves back is coming up. And while Chiron transits Aries, this is a longer transit, it kind of shows us all the ways we stop ourselves. And whenever we have like a lunation squaring to that Chiron in Aries, it's like that same pattern is going to come back. But this time we get to see how have we grown since the last time this happened? How much are we pushing through and allowing ourselves. Pushing through isn't really the right word for Chiron, actually. It's more of a peeling of the onion, peeling the layers of the onion. Like, what layer of the onion are we on when it comes to embracing change, embracing the future we want, going after what we want with our own lives? And with Jupiter here in Aries, we have more, it brings more possibility to us starting the things that we've always wanted to do, going after our dreams, and stepping up to, with this lunation in Capricorn, stepping up to things that are hard. Now remember, because full moons are the ending, it's like a culmination. We also may find, for many of us, that all of these energies that I'm talking about, we're on the fading end of these energies, where, perhaps we have been going after things. Perhaps we have been pushing ourselves to work really hard for things. And now maybe, for some people, I feel this full moon in Capricorn may be a time where, okay, now this phase of work and setting aside emotions and going after what we want is somehow coming to an end in some way, shape, or form. So this could be so many things, but basically, some of us maybe are in a phase where we're looking back on the work that we've initiated in the last 6 months and really looking at maybe some feedback we're getting about it from people we care about. We're looking at where we are compared to where we were in January. And some people might be changing their course of action or wanting to start something new. We might be seeing the need for change. We might be seeing how much we are setting aside our emotions to do things that are hard, and perhaps overdoing that a little bit. We may see, if we're on the other side of that, how much we are perhaps giving into temptation, doing things that are comfortable in the moment, and sacrificing the goals that we want to reach. So this can go either way depending on where you are, who you are watching this. And I think, what do we got? Trine North Node. Yep. That is all of the major aspects. So that is all the major aspects for this full moon in Capricorn. Now we're going to move on to the minor aspects. Keep in mind that minor aspects are still significant, but not as pressing as the major ones. So we have a very wide applying sextile to Neptune. We have a triseptile to Venus, and we have an applying biseptile to Mars. So for the applying sextile to Neptune, we're going to look here at okay. Sorry guys, it's driving me nuts. Okay. For the sextile between the moon in Capricorn and Neptune in Pisces, this is applying, which means during this full moon, the energy will be coming into it as we go. So we'll be feeling this also after the full moon, although the moon does move fast, so it's not going to be for weeks and weeks. But basically, we're coming into a sextile with Neptune from Capricorn. So Capricorn and Pisces are both feminine signs. So we know that this is about being receptive. We have Neptune. Neptune is about the ideal. Wherever we have Neptune, it's really about seeing the ideal of a situation. So sometimes this can be through challenge, right? Because how do you know what your ideal relationship is? Sometimes because you just dated a total loser and you're like, damn, I'm never doing that again, right? Or with any other area of life. So with the moon in Capricorn coming into this sextile to Neptune, this is going to give us a chance to really tap into the potential long-term possibility for ourselves. What we could be in 10 years, what our life could be, and ways that we want it to be different. So perhaps this can come in so many forms. Sometimes it comes through meeting someone who has the exact lifestyle you've been wanting, and you're like, oh my gosh, it becomes more real when you meet someone in person who has that lifestyle. It could be other things that possibly inspire us or get us closer to the ideal. Like, what is the ideal work? What is the ideal family life? What is the ideal friendships? And this will depend on, where this is happening in your chart. So that's that sextile to Neptune, bringing in some possibilities, some dreams, things like that. We also have a triseptile to Venus. Now, septile aspects are very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. We also have a triseptile to Venus, and septiles are very, very subtle. So this is a subtle energy between the moon in Capricorn and Venus in Gemini, all about how are we socializing? How are we networking? Are we enjoying our communication? So for some people, we need to use our intuition to be able to communicate in a way that is necessary. We might find that we have more of a desire at this time to speak beautiful words, to say what we think, to say what we feel. Even with that moon in Capricorn, I know that moon in Capricorn generally is not as touchy-feely when it comes to their own emotions. They don't necessarily communicate in a way that will leave them looking or seeming vulnerable. But with Venus and Gemini here in this triseptile, I feel like this softens it a bit. And it can also be simply we're working on some kind of project that involves communicating in a way that we want to be received well. So this can be writing, marketing, speaking, anything involving communication and work and goals that applies to our lives. And with septiles, there is a desire. With septiles, there is a need to follow our intuition. So we may not be able to find the right thing to say or to have the right small talk or interaction or, Gemini things, those short bursts of communication. We may not be able to do this in the way that we want to without using our intuition and trusting a little. This could have to do with communicating goals. It could have to do with planning something beautiful, or somehow planning, even like planning a life with love, or planning our money, all the things that Venus rules. We might need to be counting our money or getting into the little details at this time of our financial lives in order to see how what we're doing is fitting into the big picture. So moving on now to the next minor aspect, which is this biseptile to Mars. Biseptiles, again, that septile aspect, seventh harmonic, very subtle energy involving our intuition in how we act. So having a triseptile to Venus and a biseptile to Mars in the same lunation, to me, really means we're going to need our intuition in matters of love, first of all, because Venus and Mars together are the masculine and feminine energy that, attract and repel partners regardless of gender or anything else. Venus and Mars are still the attraction and the repelling and the tension, sometimes that tension that doesn't really repel, but like that tension we need to attract. And this can be true whether you're single or coupled, where we might need our intuition to decide what course of action to take to get what we want. And that can be in love, in money, or in life, where it's, what actions are we taking on a grounded, stable, mundane, everyday level? What words are we hearing? What words are we speaking? How are we taking care of ourselves? Are we taking care of ourselves? Are we giving ourselves a sustenance that we need to make our dreams possible? That might be a huge factor at this time, because we have, 2 planets here in Cancer, 2 planets in Taurus, and 2 planets in Capricorn. So the interaction here is, these are all feminine signs. It's all about receptivity. And, that energy from, at this time, Uranus also sextiles Mercury. So Uranus in Taurus, sextiling Mercury in Cancer. Again, it really about, are we receiving what we need? This to me is about nourishment. And perhaps we have an opportunity to have more nourishment, or we have something making us realize we need to make changes so we can be more nourished, whether that is something as basic as having the food we want to have, or that it's time to ourselves we want to have, or the space to think or feel the way we want to feel. Anything related to feeling like we are nourished, mind, body, and spirit, can be coming up at this time. Now, because the moon and Mars make an aspect here, Mars-moon aspects aren't really known as being fun or easy or comfortable, because Mars being the planet of fighting and aggression, the moon being the most sensitive. So having Mars in a biseptile to the moon, we may have to defend ourselves on an emotional level, and we may have to figure out what we need to do that on our own. Like, we might not have a clear path on exactly how to do that. We may find that we have to create some kind of boundaries to keep someone or something out of our emotional space. Something along those lines. We may find that we have to create boundaries so that we have the time to put into our work that we want to put into it. That might be an issue, or simply, with Uranus sextiling Mercury, with this interaction between Cancer and Taurus, this could be something like our peace of mind is being affected by a lack of stability. And we have to figure out how to act within this sort of shaky, unstable situation, this change that we may have to surrender to at this time. So now on to the breakdown by rising sign. We're going to start with Aries rising. You can watch your sun, moon, and rising for this part of the video. So for Aries, this is happening in your 10th house of career, opposing Mercury in your 4th house of home, and squaring off to Chiron in your 1st house of identity. So for Aries and Aries rising, this is the time where maybe some new information is revealed to you between your home and your work. There can be some issues of work-life balance coming up at this time. The needs of your home life versus the needs of your work life, and the battle between the two. It can also be the end of a cycle with something that started related to your career in January. early January. Now, this square to that first house can bring up themes of who am I versus who does my family want me to be, or who did my family of origin want me to be. And there can be tension between what may need to be changed here in order to have the work life that you're wanting to have. Now, for some, this is a culmination of a cycle that's bringing up these feelings. And it may not be about a new initiation, but just the processing of a thing that happened related to those things. So let me know, Aries and Aries rising, if that resonates. I love hearing from you guys. Moving on now to Taurus and Taurus rising. This is happening in your 9th house of belief systems, the law, the meaning of life, and opposing Mercury in Cancer, and the sun in Cancer down in your your 3rd house of communication, learning, speaking, writing, and your siblings and daily trips. So you could have something happening that's requiring you to make a change, or an ending of a cycle of travel, an ending of a cycle dealing with learning, long-form education, learning, or any of those other topics in that 9th house, such as like the law or publishing. It can also be a time where something is disclosed to you between how you communicate. It can be a time where you're focusing on the difference between what you know, but how to communicate what you know. Maybe there needs to be some kind of change or transformation in order for you to be able to do this. Maybe that's an issue. For some, siblings can come up here. Things that siblings are saying to you might be part of this focus. And this is all squaring off to Chiron in your 12th house, which may be illuminating your desire to take action on more spiritual things, to perhaps take more time out to be spiritual, to understand more deeply what you want at a subconscious level. And, it's also sparking this desire to change in your 1st house of identity. So you may find that you want to make an identity shift at this time. You want to, more clearly be who you feel like you are, embrace who you feel like you are. And maybe it's about learning how to communicate in a way that allows you to do that. Let me know, Taurus and Taurus rising, if that resonates. So moving on now to Gemini and Gemini rising. This is happening in your 8th house of merging with others, connecting with people at a deeper level, other people's money, trust, and intimacy. And it is opposing Mercury in your 2nd house of money and what you have, what you own. So this is going to bring up the question of your money or my money, your bed or my bed, depending on which Gemini or Gemini rising you are. And really, there can be something revealed here in your intimate life between a partner or about a partner's money, some kind of disclosure about debt, about any other 8th house topics that may be connected to your life at this time, such as things that are taboo, like the topic of death, sex, or other people's money. Again, things we don't usually bring out into the light. Secrets can be revealed between partners. You might learn something even about a past partner that you didn't know before. Things like this can be happening, and this is squaring off to Chiron in your 11th house of friends. So this can be interactions between your friends and your significant others, or, for some Gemini and Gemini rising, friends become lovers at this time, or there's some kind of tension between going after some kind of intimate desire in your friend circle, like maybe some Geminis or Gemini risings have a crush on someone in your friend group and aren't sure if you have the it can bring up self-worth issues if you have a crush on someone in your friend group. Now, for others, this isn't intimacy related as much as, maybe friends become more significant to your process of making money or become closer, but there still feels like there could be some potential insecurity for Gemini and Gemini rising around basically what am I bringing to the table? Is what I'm bringing to the table good enough? Is it valuable enough to secure this connection? Could be intimacy or otherwise. And then that Uranus in the 12th house, stimulating that change, stimulating something in your subconscious mind, or something that, again, was not revealed to you before about your true desires or motivations for comfort. And that can have a wide range of applications. So let me know, Geminis and Gemini rising, if this resonated. I love hearing from you guys. Now moving on to Cancer. So for Cancer and Cancer risings, this is happening in your 7th house of partnerships and opposing your 1st house of identity. So, situations, the ending of a cycle in a relationship is possible here for Cancer and Cancer risings, or the ending of a cycle of someone you worked with one-on-one or a friendship. And, this could be a good ending. It could be a positive ending where things have been revealed. Maybe you've learned things about yourself in the process, or gone through with Pluto in that 7th. It could be going through some kind of grieving process or going through some kind of transformation related to how you have closure in your relationships, especially if this thing was starting around January. Now with Chiron in your 10th squaring off to this, it's all about who am I with, who am I, and what kind of work can I do in the world? And the tension between these energies of, can I go after what I want in my job, in my work, in my skills, in the outer world, in my public life? Who am I? And can I get what I want in work? Can I get what I want in my job? Can I start something new? And this might have to do with letting go of a person you are connected to who perhaps at this point you're realizing, you can't move forward with this situation, or you can't move forward with this friendship or this partnership as it is. Something's got to give. There's definitely something that has to give here. And it can even be somehow connected to your home space and having a safe and a comfortable, happy home. Now, Uranus in that 11th house of friends and groups and professional associations is trining over to this lunation in the 7th house. So this is a good time for Cancers and Cancer risings to meet somebody in your friend group who becomes a lover or a partner or a business partner, or someone who you work with on some collaborative project that the goal is to, move your public life, your work life, and how much money you can make life, that side of life, how much income you can make, what kind of work you do in the world, moving it forward. So you might be teaming up with the right people. You might have sudden changes to the people you connect with. You might meet a new friend group, and with the North Node there conjunct, this feels like it's moving you toward a direction you want to go in. You might also be more motivated to be with the right people, hang out with the right people, or push forward your social media at this time with Mars there in that 11th house as well. So let me know in a comment below if this resonated. I love hearing from you. And let's go on now to Leos and Leo risings. So for you guys, this is happening in your 6th house and opposing Mercury over in the Sun over in your 12th house. So it's all about, the 6th house is all about what we do on a day-to-day basis, the work we have to do. So for some Leos and Leo risings, this is an ending of a cycle of work that started back in January, especially the kind of work that keeps you busy but doesn't give you a ton of success or fame or, credit. You just have to do it. So the 6th house can be chores. It can be the things we have to do that, or even sometimes work that we're doing that isn't necessarily work that we, get a benefit from at the time we do it. Okay. So it's work that helps us to get better at a skill, chores, exercising, things that maybe long term we might get an outcome, but usually on the short term it's just something we got to take care of. So it's an end of a cycle dealing with those kind of things. So for some Leo and Leo rising, it's like an end of a cycle of how like a health routine that you got on back in January, or the end of a cycle of a certain amount of work, so there can be a change here to how much work you have to do or what your duties or responsibilities are in your day-to-day life. Now with Chiron squaring up in that 9th house of publishing, the law, belief systems, and travel, you may find that you want to start something new with those energies that falls under those categories. You may find yourself really focusing on what it would take to do that, how to arrange your schedule to really focus on the things that matter most to you. And, with that 9th house ruler in the 10th house at this time, that's going to be, you're probably going to feel a lot more fulfillment, Leo and Leo rising at this time, from the work that you do in the world. So it's like public recognition, if you're getting it, could be more fulfilling at this time during that Mars transiting that 10th house. That trine from Uranus in that 10th over to the 6th is actually a really positive energy, but it's like changes to your schedule, changes to your responsibilities. And with Uranus near that North Node, this makes me feel like it's changes that are moving you closer to the life you want, closer to being more comfortable, closer to having more money or having more enjoyment. But that Mercury, you know, the ruler of your money house, over in that 12th house is kind of hidden in that 12th house. So, you know, it may not be a time where you're like, bam, getting a raise kind of a thing. It may be more of a time where it's like, now you don't have to work this part-time job you didn't like anymore, or something else along those lines. Remember, Uranus can function like an on and off switch, and it's in your career house. So something gets turned on, something initiates suddenly, or something ends suddenly in that 10th house of work. Also, again, Mercury being in that 12th house, the 12th house has to do with our connection to the collective consciousness. And so having this lunation on the 6th, 12th house axis really does sometimes heighten our ability to connect with the cries of the world, you know, connect with the needs of humanity or the needs of our audience or the group of people we know that we can help and be of service to. So sometimes this anything happening in our 12th house can heighten our desire to be of service in the world, heighten our desire to answer the call of a certain request of unheard people especially. But with Mars in your 10th, you might hear the concerns already. They might be loud enough. So that is what I have for Leo and Leo rising. Let me know if that resonates. And we'll move on now to the next sign, which is Virgo. So for Virgo and Virgo rising, this is happening in your 5th house of fun and opposing your 11th house of friends, groups, hopes, and dreams. So this really highlights are you living the life you want? Are you going after your goals? Are you owning your desires? Or, you know, are you giving up what you want because of the collective? It's the end of a cycle of this 5th house. So it's maybe the end of a cycle of something initiated back in January related to fun, creativity, your self-expression, your own goals that you started going after. It doesn't mean you're going to stop going after goals right now, but just there's an ending to a certain cycle that initiated then. The square up to Chiron in the 8th, you might be wanting to have more intimacy. 5th house and 8th house. I feel like everything I say to you guys is about sex lately, but that's just how it goes sometimes. So yeah, the moon squaring Chiron in your house of intimacy from your house of dating. Maybe you want to date a friend, but there's tension. Maybe there's someone in your work life that you think is super hot and you're holding yourself back, Virgo. I know Virgos tend to worry. You know, my Virgos and my Libras will worry about things sometimes. So you guys might be going through that where you're getting some and for some Virgos, this might be less about the romantic side and more about how to express yourself in the groups you're hanging out with. And it can also be a desire to get closer to people. Sometimes that 8th house of intimacy does have to do with our close friends and associations, not always just our lovers, but it's about going deeper with people. And this square means it's tense. You know, it's not like, now I know this person better. Yay. There's some tension here between how much we want people to know. With Pluto in that 5th and Mercury in that 11th, for some people, it's, I feel like I said this in a recent video for somebody, but it still applies that this can be about something revealed in a group. This can be a friend group or a professional group that you are involved in that maybe you didn't want to be revealed about your desires, about a creative interest. There can be challenges here between what you want versus what the people around you need, or, you know, what their emotional needs are. And, you know, perhaps people want you to tone it down a little bit to, fit in with the crowd. You know, perhaps the people you're around, there can be challenges here with do we do what we want to do, or do we just do what we think the rules are in this social setting? Stuff like that can be coming up here. Or, you know, things that are supposed to be private becoming public. That can be a thing. Also, maybe this isn't quite as public of a thing as much as for a lot of Virgos, some of you can just be looking at and really seeing and feeling your desire to create more intimacy or trust. And, this lunation can just be about new beginnings in that. With Uranus in your 9th house trining to the moon, this is a possible new beginning or ending, sudden change to 9th house things, such as the meaning of life, also travel, the law or publishing, whichever one of those things you feel like affects you more, or your faith in your belief system. But with it conjunct the North Node here and that trine being to the North Node, this makes me feel like it's a positive thing in your, maybe something happens that gives you a little bit of faith in life. Maybe something happens that allows you to feel like you're moving forward toward having more meaning or fulfillment in life. Definitely a time where it's about connecting with other people and doing the things that matter most to you. So for some Virgo and Virgo risings, it's about changing how you express yourself so that you attract the people who have aligned belief systems. That's another way this can show up. So let me know, Virgo and Virgo risings, how that resonates. I love hearing from you, and let's move on to Libra. For Libra and Libra risings, this is happening in your... Yes. Okay. For Libra and Libra risings, this is happening in your 3rd house. No, that's the 4th house. For Libra and Libra risings, this is happening in your 4th house of home and opposing your 10th house of career. So themes of work-life balance can be coming up here. This can be a culmination of something new you started back in January related to your home, the people you live with, your family of origin, or how you feel in your own skin. The 4th house being our emotional security and foundations in life. And that opposition from Mercury to the 10th house, maybe something is revealed to us about our work life that we didn't know before. Maybe a secret is communicated. Maybe our secrets get revealed at work. Something is disclosed relating to our work and our work-life balance, work versus home. Now, Chiron in that 7th house, squaring over to this, makes me feel like some Libra and Libra risings are dealing with the difference between, do I make my partner happy or do I go after what I want? That challenge between where to do what we want with our lives versus where to go after our own goals. And with the moon in that 4th house, this can be a time where maybe you got to do what you wanted for 6 months, and now it's time to make it about someone else. Maybe now there's a need to switch it up a little bit, one way or the other, from being more outwardly focused, goal-oriented, to now being more home-oriented, or vice versa. This trine to Uranus in your 8th house makes me feel like you guys can have a sudden change here to your intimacy. So this can be going deeper with someone or stopping an intimate connection that Libras are realizing isn't right, doesn't allow them to be okay in their own skin, isn't supporting their emotional foundation. So it can go one way or the other here, but with Jupiter in the 7th house, it does make it better. So even if you are making changes to the people that you're spending the most time with, there's a potential for that to balance itself out at this time a little bit more easily. So that's what I have for Libra and Libra rising. Let me know in a comment below if it resonates. I love hearing from you guys. And now moving on to Scorpios. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, this is happening in your 3rd house of communication, siblings, your local environment, and opposing your 9th house of foreign travel, belief systems, the meaning of life, and what you know. So for some Scorpio risings, this can be highlighting the difference between what you know versus how you communicate what you know. There can be an end of a cycle that started early January related to your communication, your siblings, your neighborhood. And, it's now involving, it's like the third house is like our close local place, the place we're comfortable with, the people we see every day. And that ninth house is like those long trips. So something highlighting those energies at this time for Scorpios. We also have Chiron for you guys in your sixth house of what you do every day, your daily schedule, your chores, the things you gotta do. So with the third and sixth house highlighted, I always think of times where we're just busier. Now with Chiron here, it's almost like some Scorpios and Scorpio risings might be overcoming a fear of taking on too much, putting too much on your plate. There might be a lot to do, and you might have to focus on how to chop it all up and get it all done. Really that efficiency level. For others, this can have more to do with, are you in the right environment? Do you need to change your environment to have the daily life or daily schedule you want? For some, it has to do with being more brave or courageous when it comes to how you approach your routine, your workouts, something like that. And Uranus in that seventh house really might inspire some kind of change to your partnerships. That can be a new relationship or ending one, but it can also be just creating a new cycle within the relationship you have. Or if you are single, it can also be changes to friends, changes to how you see friends, someone suddenly showing up in your life that maybe somehow is connected to your knowledge, your communication, or your local environment. You could really meet someone at the grocery store under a transit like this. So let me know, Scorpios and Scorpio risings, how that resonates. I always love hearing from you. For Sag and Sag risings, this is happening in your second house of money, what you have, what you own, your values, your self-esteem, and it's opposing your eighth house of other people's money and debt, taxes, intimacy. So it's all about, oftentimes second house things are about when we're putting blinders on and we're just focusing on getting the job done. And that eighth house is like when we come out from those blinders and allow other people in. So having Pluto here conjunct that moon in that second house, this is going to be all about potentially things being revealed financially, things being revealed about debt, things being revealed about other people's money. It can also be things being revealed about other people's motives intimately. So some of you are just connecting with people who are either intimate partners or potential intimate partners. With Chiron over here in the fifth house squaring this, there's tension around dating. So this might even be something where there's someone that you are having a hard time letting in. Maybe Sag and Sag risings are not sure whether to pursue a certain person or not. Now, this can also show up in your self-expression, where Sag and Sag risings are perhaps not sure, there's tension. Do I say what I think? Do I go after what I want? Do I be myself? Or do I not? Is this person going to trust me? Are they going to respect me? Can I really, am I safe to be myself? This might be a question Sages and Sag risings are dealing with as they, create more deeper connections. This is a transit where that's what I feel is going on. Also, it is an end of a money cycle that started back in January. So whatever projects financially you were working on, skill building you were working on, starting January, you might be coming to a culmination. Now, sometimes that means it's a money transit, but other times it means that it's like, now you built the skill to gain the income, and now you're in a new cycle where you can start using it. It doesn't always guarantee financial success. And with Pluto here in the second, there might be a need to surrender something financially or take more control over your finances in some way. And then with Uranus here in that sixth house, there might be new beginnings with the kind of work that you're doing at this time. You might have changes to your schedule, your routine, That can be physically with health and stuff, but it can also be with what you do day to day for your work. So you might be doing different kinds of work day to day. You might be inspired to create more freedom and abundance when it comes to what you are doing on a day-to-day basis, and really motivated with Mars there as well to make that happen. So that's what I see for Sag and Sag rising. So you guys let me know in a comment below if it resonates. For Capricorn and Capricorn risings, it's happening in your first house of identity and opposing your seventh house of relationships. For some Capricorns, it's an end of a cycle starting in January, having to do with your physical location, yourself, your life choices, or your body. And so also with Pluto Mercury here, some of you may be, dealing with disclosure from a partner, disclosure from a close friend or business acquaintance about something you didn't know before. Others of you might have to surrender to something related to your own identity, who you are, what how you connect with people and relationships. And this square to Chiron in the fourth house really makes this transit about your own self, your own private life, and how you might be holding yourself back, Capricorns, from being okay in your own skin or having the life you want to have. And with Chiron in the fourth, it's really, to me, about healing the emotions. Ancestral healing can come up here. This can also be about initiating something with your family of origin, or being on the fence about buying real estate, something like that. Those things can be coming up. With this trine to Uranus in your fifth house of fun, you might have something change where you start dating someone new, you start speaking up for yourself a little bit more, you start trying to be yourself a little bit more, and that really feels strong with these energies, with that Uranus in the fifth house of fun and self-expression, and Chiron in that fourth house of, our roots and our foundation in life. It's like, what do I need to be myself? Who do I need to have around me? Where do I need to be going? Who do I need in my life to be myself? That is what I feel is going to be the theme of this full moon, with the Cancer, your seventh house, your first house, and your fourth house being activated, and that fifth house being involved as well. It's like, can I be myself around these people? And if not, can I surrender to that and maybe find new people or accept the limitations of the people I'm in partnership with? So those are the themes that I see coming up for you Capricorns. Let me know in a comment below if that resonated, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Moving on now to Aquarius. So for Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this is happening in your 12th house of isolation and opposing your 6th house of your daily routine. So lots of energy at this time on things being revealed about your subconscious motivations for power and control, with Pluto conjunct that moon in Capricorn in that 12th house. And, with Mercury and the sun there in the 6th, is your self-talk honest? Are you being honest with yourself? Is there something revealed about your true motivations or other people's psychological motivations that you did not know existed before? With Chiron in that 3rd house making a square to all of this, are you able to communicate to the people around you? Are you able to communicate how you feel? Are you communicating to yourself what you really think? Where have you been possibly lying to yourself? This feels like a really strong theme for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. 12th house transits can also really bring up our compassion. And it can make us a little bit confused about how we feel. So, and another thing to know too is that this can be a culmination of a spiritual cycle that started back in January for you, where maybe it was focused on developing those things, and now you see where you're at with all of it. And then this trine to Uranus in your 4th house of home could be some kind of change. It changes the stability that you feel in your home life or in your emotional life. But it does feel like it could be for the better with that North Node being right there, about really becoming more centered, changes that help us become more centered, maybe realizations of the truth, illuminations of things that up until this point, this is a very strong secrets revealed transit for Aquarius, more so than the other signs, just because of the 12th house and 4th house being so private. So I do see that communications, private communications being revealed, having someone tell you their secrets, or you learning a new layer of truth, psychological truth about yourself or the people around you. That is what I see for Aquarius. So let me know, guys, in a comment below if that resonated. And moving on now to Pisces and Pisces rising. This is happening for you guys in your 11th house of friends, groups, and opposing your 5th house of self-expression. So you could be having a new layer of honesty in the groups that you are. You might feel like you need to change some of the people you're hanging out with. You may have recently changed that. With Chiron in that 2nd house of values, there might be questions coming up about, do the people I see on a regular basis, the people I go to work with, the people I am connecting to, are they on the same page? Do they have totally different values? And there may be self-worth questions. So some Pisces and Pisces rising may be dealing with the fear of not being good enough for the work environment or the friend environment or the even social media presence that they have. Like, am I at the level I need to be at to be doing what I'm doing or to be with the people I'm with? Now, for other Pisces and Pisces rising, you might be on the other side of it where it's like, okay, I need to do better. I deserve better friends. I deserve better associations. I deserve better workplaces or, groups of all kinds to be involved with because of my own, who I am. There can also be, again, things revealed to you about your own creativity. You might be getting feedback about your creative self-expression, whatever that looks like. And with this trine down to Uranus in your 3rd house of communication, you might want to change how you communicate. Now, this can be your marketing. It can be how you talk to the people around you. It might be how much you're listening to people. You might just be inspired to kind of learn a little bit more about the art of networking, right? How to win friends and influence people. This might actually be a thing with Pluto in your 11th, Uranus in your 3rd, and that, square to Chiron. This could really actually be what you're dealing with, is feeling like maybe seeing a new layer of how you could communicate better to groups of people, perhaps wanting to work on your speaking skills, being more influential, have more power over your social media. Now, for some of you, it's the end of a cycle where now you do have more power in some way with something you started back in January, right? Or you're closer to your hopes and dreams than you were back in January, or some end of a cycle related to certain friendships or groups of friends. Now, this could be something as simple as your mastermind ends to something as complex as, realizing how your friend situations, how interactions or dynamics with friend groups need to change, or, perhaps even to the extent for some people where there's a loss here, with Pluto in that 11th, a forced surrender to change. And perhaps even if it's not initiated by you, I feel this one has the potential to take you further, especially based on like who you are and what you value. I feel like Pisces and Pisces risings, if you're working with your Chiron right now, you are working on being more valuable, seeing your value, acting in a way that other people see your value. And maybe that's part of what this transit is about for some of you, is like, how can I communicate my value better? And remember, for some, this is the end of that cycle where, you did all this work on communicating your value, and now you're seeing the outcome of you being that new person, you believing in yourself and being capable. And as a result, changing the way you show up in groups or online, or even to how you approach your hopes and your dreams. So that's what I have for Pisces and Pisces rising. Let me know in a comment below if that resonated. And You guys, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to get more videos like this. Thank you all so much for watching. And we are now doing videos like this every Monday, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and watch out for those. You can also get a past life reading from me. I do these as a 10-minute video. They're designed to help you understand your evolutionary lessons based on your South Node past life energies, and a little bit on how to honor and cultivate and work with your North Node in this life. So check that out. Click the link below to book that with me, and I will see you all in the next video.